Welcome to Candidates Comment, a public service presentation of CTN. All candidates running for City Council of Ann Arbor were invited to come to CTN to share their platforms and ideas. Candidates who participate will be shown in alphabetical order.
Hello, I'm Jared Holford, the Democratic nominee for City Council in Ward 2. What makes a city great? It was a question my family asked when we started thinking about where we wanted to put down roots. Ultimately, choosing Ann Arbor was a simple choice. It's child and family friendly with great schools and abundant recreational opportunities. The city celebrates its diversity and brims with culture, arts, and a vibrant downtown. It's a place where neighborhoods are strong and neighbors are engaged, both with each other and the larger community. When we moved here, I began considering that question once again. What makes a city great? I knew why I loved living here, but I wanted to know what the people who were already here thought was great about their town. What I heard surprised me. I heard questions like, why are we spending any money on public art? And should we spend this much money on expanding our transit system? I was surprised to learn that there was a faction of City Council that was convinced that government was doing too much, that we should provide the basic services and call it a day, that we should look at future generations of Ann Arborites wanting to bring their ideas, their passions, their energy, their businesses, and yes, their tax dollars to our city and say, sorry, you're not welcome here. That's not me. I believe that the thing that makes Ann Arbor so special, the thing that makes this city great, is the high quality of life we provide for our residents. And quality of life is about more than just the basics. What it's about is answering the question of what makes a city great with a resounding yes and. Yes, we must provide basic city services to residents reliably and efficiently. And we must continue and extend our proud tradition of progressive leadership on community priorities. Yes, we must repave and resurface the roads. And we must ensure that when we do, we make them as safe as possible for all users, old, young, walking, biking, driving, and using transit. Yes, we must work to keep our water and sewer infrastructure in good working order. And we must do our part to enact sustainable environmental protections in a changing climate, as well as keeping our drinking water safe by addressing the 1,4-dioxane plume. So that's me. I'm the guy who believes in a yes-and approach to city government. I believe this town has too much energy, too much talent, and frankly, too many really smart people for us not to strive to do better. Ann Arbor's too great a city to ever just be basic. I believe the job of an Ann Arbor City Council member is to advocate for their residents, which requires honest discussion, exchange of ideas, and reasonable compromise. I have the professional expertise and interpersonal skills to effect positive change for all of us, and hope to have the opportunity to do so on behalf of all Ward 2 residents. You can find my complete vision and platform stated on my website at holfordforcouncil.com. But I also want to hear what you think, so reach out to me anytime at holfordforcouncil@gmail.com. I'm asking for your support, your trust, and your vote on November 7th to represent you on City Council. Thank you, and see you at the polls.
Hello, I'm Jane Lum, and I'm running for re-election to Ann Arbor City Council. First, I'd like to thank Second Ward residents for the opportunity to serve these past 6 years. It's been an honor. My thanks as well to CTN and to you for taking the time to listen. In its endorsement of my 2013 re-election, the Ann Arbor News said, quote, "Lum works hard to keep the city's finances in line, and we applaud that. That was my commitment, and if re-elected, I'll continue to be Council's strongest voice for fiscal responsibility to ensure your tax dollars are spent wisely and efficiently. I believe city spending should reflect the broader community's priorities, not the priorities of elected officials. In that spirit, I'll continue to work hard to shape the city budget to align with what you've told me are your two main priorities: infrastructure reinvestment, streets, parks, sewers, and improving basic services, especially neighborhood safety. I've sponsored over 35 budget amendments to reallocate spending towards those key priorities, including funding new streetlights and adding the police officers necessary for more neighborhood patrols and traffic enforcement. I also authored the 3 resolutions that resulted in the pedestrian safety improvements at Huron High School and the resolution that will accelerate traffic flow improvements on the Nixon Road corridor. The Ann Arbor News also said, quote, Lum has helped bring more transparency and dialogue to Council's discussions, asking the questions others weren't asking in the past, end quote. Transparency, accountability, and rigorous debate remain priorities for me. I don't believe it's in our best interest to return to the days when Council consisted of like-minded folks with very little debate of policies and priorities. In 2015, the Ann Arbor News said, quote, Lum's shown a strong loyalty to her ward and regularly seeks out answers and solutions for her constituents, end quote. I've always believed a council member's most important role is to listen, help folks navigate City Hall, and advocate on their behalf. If reelected, you can be sure I'll continue taking the lead in proactively addressing Second Ward issues. Finally, a few thoughts on economic growth and city revenue. Ann Arbor is highly attractive to businesses and developers. That strong demand allows us to realize the economic growth we need and to insist on developments that are compatible with their surroundings and complement the character of our city. I do not share the view of some of my council colleagues that new taxes are needed. City revenues continue to grow, and many folks are already struggling to meet the heavy tax burden we have now. Instead of higher taxes, city government must prioritize, just like the folks paying the bills do, and identify efficiency improvements. Again in 2017, my independent candidacy has broad support from Democrats, Republicans, and Independents. Please visit my website for more information at www.janelum.org, and please let me know what's on your mind. Thank you for your consideration, and I hope I've earned your vote on November 7th.
Hello, I'm Jack Eaton. It has been my privilege to represent the 4th Ward on Ann Arbor City Council since 2013. This year, I'm running for re-election. When I first ran for City Council, I promised to focus on improving our basic services and maintaining our essential infrastructure. I promised to represent the common sense point of view of Ward 4 residents. I've kept those promises. I have consistently worked to maintain and improve basic services. This includes additional funding for police and fire staffing, restoring bulk leaf pickup, expanding our food composting program, supporting our deer management program. I've led the effort to improve our essential infrastructure, including a road maintenance and repair plan, improved stormwater management, and limits on development in floodways. I've demonstrated responsible budget priorities. I voted against spending $4 million to reskin the City Hall. I supported additional funding for safety services. I supported increased funding for streetlights and crosswalk improvements. In my 2 years, I also championed transparency, accountability, responsiveness, and community values. I believe the council should be responsive. I have worked closely with neighborhoods on concerns they've brought to me. I've also sponsored a resolution to place the issue of the sale of the library lot on the ballot when petitions to do that fell short of required signatures due to technicalities. I have a positive vision of our town's future that includes protecting what's good and unique about our community. We must promote restoration over demolition. We should value financial responsibility over indebtedness. We must work to protect our environment. I have always emphasized common sense priorities. The city can provide excellent services and maintain our infrastructure without raising taxes. I invite you to visit my website to learn more about my record, eatonforcouncil.org. Please help me continue my work on City Council by casting your vote for me on November 7th. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Diane Gianola, and I'm running for City Council as an independent in the 4th Ward. Last year I ran in the Democratic primary. It was a three-way race and I was not successful. This year I decided to run as an independent candidate in the November general election so I could avoid another three-way primary race. Nonetheless, please be assured that I am a true Democrat in my values, but I'm independent in that I don't align with either of the two factions that currently exist on council. I have lived in Ann Arbor for about 20 years and live in the Georgetown neighborhood. I am a former molecular biologist where I did cancer research for most of the past 25 years, but recently made a midlife career change and now am a program manager at the University of Michigan, working with some of the startup companies that are spun out of the university. I have a Bachelor's of Science degree in microbiology from the University of Michigan and a Master's in Business Administration and Project Management from Madonna University. I have previously served on the City Planning Commission for 5 years and the Historic District Commission for 3 years. I have followed city issues in depth for over 12 years and understand the history behind many long outstanding issues. My reason for running is simply that I want to be a more effective and informative voice for the Fourth Ward. I believe that there is more to being a council member than just voting or pushing your own personal initiatives. There is a customer service aspect to the position that I think is not appreciated by some who currently serve on the council. I want to help you, the resident, navigate the city bureaucracy in order to get things done. I want to not only inform you about issues, but to help you understand what things mean, what is doable, and what the ramifications might be for any given issue. I love Ann Arbor just like you do and have been active in the community for years. I want to be your voice at the table, a voice to air your concerns, a voice that's not afraid to question things, a voice that represents the Fourth Ward with authenticity. For my viewpoints on the issues, please go to my website, gianolaforcouncil.com. That's Gianola, the number 4, council.com. The website is very comprehensive and goes into a lot of detail on many issues. Also, please look under the information tab on my website to find some very detailed position papers on the proposed library lot development as well as the train station that you can download. Please don't hesitate to contact me if you have any questions. If you would like to have a fresh, pragmatic voice on council, then please vote for me on November 7th. Always remember that your vote does count, so please vote. Thank you very much.
My name is Ali Rimli, and I am running as an independent for City Council Ward 5. As the owner of a local downtown business for 25 years and a resident of 17, I understand the issues facing our residents, other small business owners, and people who work in our city. They believe City Council is not addressing their concerns with matters that affect their quality of life. I am running to bring a new perspective to City Council, one that represents the will of the community. I want to shift Council's attention to rebalance our priorities so that they reflect the true wishes of the people of Ann Arbor. I will take a pragmatic approach on decisions, one that listens to the residents on issues that matter to all of us. Safe neighborhoods and streets, clean air, clean water, and a sustainable and inclusive city. Through this new perspective, our city will be able to achieve the cultural and economic diversity that once defined Ann Arbor. One of the biggest challenges facing our city is the lack of workforce housing that is affordable. Without increasing the supply of housing for our growing workforce, our community will not reach its full economic potential, and we will not be able to sustain a healthy diversity. This will require changing our direction and putting our resources behind making this a priority for Ann Arbor. I believe City Council needs to become more diverse, and by doing so, it will open more discussion that will address social justice issues through economic means. We need to restructure our priorities so that they reflect the true needs of our city and foster a vibrant and inclusive community. To be an effective council member, it comes down to asking the difficult questions, challenging the status quo, and working towards finding the best solutions with all that our community has to offer. Whether from the public or private sector, residents, local businesses, or others within Ann Arbor, people have the answers and solutions can be found. I remember a time when other communities looked to Ann Arbor as an example to follow. I would like to return our city to that level of leadership once again. Vote for your community, vote for Ali. For more information about my campaign, please visit my website at voteali.org.
I'm 5th Ward Ann Arbor City Council member Chip Smith, and I'm your Democratic nominee in the November 7th general election. 2 years ago, I ran for City Council to make government work better for the citizens of Ann Arbor, and that's exactly what I've done. During my term, we've been able to get a lot accomplished together. We've adopted design guidelines to protect the character of our downtown. We've succeeded in strengthening the 1,4-dioxane standard to keep our drinking water safe. We've adopted a vulnerable road user ordinance to protect cyclists and pedestrians. And we've expanded local funding for street, sidewalk, bicycle, and crosswalk improvements. I've also helped pass legislation that pledges Ann Arbor to adhere to the Paris Climate Agreement, that establishes our city as a welcoming community to immigrants and refugees, and that funds a street tree planting program to capture stormwater and to make sure we stay a beautiful tree city well into the future. I've also been engaged with the public. I talk with people every day about issues in our city, addressing concerns and learning about your perspective on the future of our community. I host monthly coffee hours and I try and personally respond to residents' concern, be it with a phone call, email, or via social media. This is usually under the radar stuff, but providing information to people so they can solve problems and advocate for positions they care about is a huge part of being an elected official, and one I've done well. I'm running for re-election because our city still faces some tough challenges. I believe passionately that we need to address affordability here in the city, and that housing and transportation work together in that equation. We need to continue to improve the provision of basic services to residents, making sure that we do a great job of plowing snow, collecting, recycling, and trash, and maintaining our infrastructure. We need to keep working on building a transportation network that moves buses, cars, bikes, and pedestrians safely. And we need to fund climate adaptation programs to do our part to reduce carbon emissions and to address the impact of larger storms on our aging infrastructure. We have a responsibility to future generations that we make sure Ann Arbor is environmentally, financially, and socially sustainable. To do that, we need responsible development. Responsible development is development that allows folks to live closer to their jobs, especially lower wage and middle-income workers. Responsible development is the kind that doesn't depend on single-occupant car trips to be successful. Responsible development means beautiful architecture and public spaces. We need responsible development if we're going to address affordability in Ann Arbor. We need it if we're going to reduce our carbon emissions. We need it if we're really serious about housing equity. And we need it if we're going to be a resilient community. I'm Chip Smith, 5th Ward Democratic nominee for council, and I'd be honored to have your vote on November 7th.
This concludes the presentation by candidates running for Ann Arbor City Council. This program is available for viewing online. Visit a2gov.org/CTN. Remember to do your part and vote on November 7th.